Good evening, and welcome to Into the Shadows, Episode 7. And tonight, we're going to be delving into something we all can relate to. Something that we're all experiencing every single day. Some folks experience this non-stop their whole lives. What am I talking about, you're wondering? Hello, Hampton. What I'm talking about is anxiety. Anxiety. Such a wonderful subject. And I'm not glorifying it and I'm not praising it. I certainly feel that it is an epidemic. In many ways, something that cripples so many of us, much like fear. And in many ways goes hand in hand. Almost like two exes that get together. Off and on a consistent basis. I feel, at least. So what do I mean? Why anxiety? Why tonight? Why anxiety? Well, I'll tell you. Anxiety, by some forms of definitions, is worrying about what will happen. The thought that a worst fear could be realized. It's that sense of anticipation of the worst thing that could happen is going to happen, despite your best efforts to avoid it. It is a fear of fear being realized. You have to wonder, what is the structure of this? Why do we feel it? Well, one could say they're psychological triggers. Others can say that it is something that's learned. Prior experience has interesting ways of teaching us lessons. Anxiety could be the result of that. I can't tell. Most people can't. And we all experience it in one form or another. It's a sad fact. How we handle the anxiety, that takes chemicals, therapy, practice, and recognizing it when it will happen. Yes, recognizing when it will happen. Anxiety about experiencing anxiety. You see how it's an interesting loop? I'm sure you do. So tonight we're going to delve into this. First, we're going to delve into what anxiety is for some. Because it takes many forms. It is a beast of 1,000 faces. Fear of what could happen. And ultimately, ways to use it. Yes, ways to use it. Let's talk about some examples. What nature of anxiety it is. I'm curious as to what you might think. Like, and it does suck having it. Yes, it does, Jordan, without a doubt. Share this video. You never know. Somebody you know might be experiencing anxiety and having a discussion with it could very well alleviate it. Tonight, I myself experienced anxiety all the way home before choosing to meet you all here. We have different forms of anxiety. We have social anxiety, performance anxiety, just overall dread, really. You see, fear, in essence, takes many faces when you really think about it. Anxiety is a fear of having your fear realized. Anxiety is going through the motions and anticipating failure. That's scary. For so many. Many experience anxiety and they call it a self-fulfilling action. When you experience anxiety, you're more likely than not to put into motion the events where your worst fear can be realized. It's very dangerous. dangerous thing. Hello, Jessica. Good to see you. So how do we handle this? How do we utilize this? What the hell is it? Why? Why do we experience anxiety? Some could say, back on the plains. Yes, Yemye. I certainly can know there's a lot of people that feel that that is their life. Anxiety is all-encompassing. Many people live their lives in consistent and absolute anxiety. From the moment they wake to the moment they try to close their eyes and go to sleep. Because for many, it robs them of that somnambular repose. But it is a problem. Film, television, games, you name it. What they in themselves do is inspire this biological trigger in order for us to ripen the fear. I'll give you a good example. We'll use games. Okay? Games are a good example. You're moving along, and suddenly the background music stops. Or you've noticed there's a considerable number of health items lying around. You manage to make it to a safe point out of nowhere, or the game autosaves. The feeling of anxiety is essentially an internal dialogue in your mind that says some shit is about to go down. And whether you like it or not, are you going to be able to react to it in time? It's a question. There's a good example. We'll use movies as another. Whenever a group of friends is gathered and somebody says, "I'll be right back," you know it's coming. That thought when somebody is in a ghost film, opens up a cabinet that more or less obscures half the screen with its door. You know when that door is going to close, there's going to be something behind it. It's there, it's waiting, and it's ready. You know it's going to be there. Hello, Jim, and thank you for joining in. That is anxiety. We could even dance upon the idea that perhaps, just perhaps, even music can induce anxiety. Seems like a weird concept, doesn't it? Music can make us wonder and feel like something's coming. Elizabeth, glad to see you again. There's always that build-up. That's what the anxiety is. The build-up, yes. That moment when your existential dread is about to become reality. How do we handle it? Why do we experience it? Even people that are fearless, self-proclaimed fearless, mind you. I feel everybody experiences fear. Anxiety always gets the better of them. And thank you for being here for me to have you. Alan, good to see you. We are discussing anxiety. Anxiety in all its wondrous and glorious, mystifying, and downright destructive ways. And how it leads to fear. The two do go hand in hand, I believe. I mentioned earlier, they are like two ex-lovers that constantly meet up for that little tryst in the barn. And we never want to experience one or the other. And you have to wonder why. Anxiety is a defense mechanism. An irrational one, but still it does exist. It has its uses too. So I'm curious, from all of you tonight that are tuning in. All right now, 13 of you. Good number. A number that inspires anxiety. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to click the button down at the bottom of your screen that says share. And I want you to share it on your timelines. Share it to your big groups. Because I guarantee you, there's somebody there that's experiencing anxiety. And are going to want to know that others are experiencing it too. And they're going to want to know if anybody else has come up with a way to solve it. Because tonight, we're going to try and solve it. All of us, right now, we will attempt to unbox this safe, this puzzle box, this lament configuration of mystery. Perhaps, just perhaps, give somebody a solution. Now, why is anxiety a problem? It's led many people down a dark path, a downward spiral. Something we don't even need external stimulus for. That's how insane it is. There are people that experience anxiety over the slightest things, which to some of us seems irrational, but to others not only seems perfectly irrational, we have to wonder why they aren't experiencing more. It's a powerful force. How do we beat it? Well, I'll tell you how. Or at least how I do it. Yes, I'm getting a little close, but I do need to sit up for this because I want to be serious with all of you. Anxiety is very much like a demon. Once you know its name, you can control it. Now, what do I mean by that? How does that apply? Well, quite simply, when you know you're experiencing anxiety, that's the first step. And the next is learning how to reduce it from the oversized monster you feel it to be to nothing more than an ant that you can crush. Spiritual guidance can help, Alan, yes. And moral support is always appreciated. I'll tell all of you, show me moral support. Share the hell out of this. I have anxiety about one day not being able to talk to all of you wonderful people. But me telling you, giving you calls of action, spread my word. I almost sound like a cult leader when I say that, don't I? But you know what? The more that people are around, the more that people talk, the more that people have knowledge, the stronger the tool, the more widespread the technique, and ultimately, maybe one day, anxiety will be something nobody experiences ever again. We'll know what it is, and we can crush it before it grows, like a little imp. A whelp to be tormented and destroyed, or utilized. So once you know you're having anxiety, and once you figure out how to reduce it, and thank you, Jim, very much. Share it on your timeline. Share it in the big group. Spread the word. Anxiety sucks, but once you know you've got it, and once you reduce it to its most basic thing, what triggers it, what's fueling it, and you have moral support, for some people spiritual guidance, for others it's an explanation of logic. I'm not saying that spiritual guidance isn't logical, but for most people that don't believe it, meh. Lance, good to see you again. Once you do that, you can crush the demon that is anxiety. That's how you destroy it. That's how you conquer it. Jesse, I'm glad that you were able to tell us that. Don't fear anxiety. Anxiety is something that we all have. It just tends to, thank you, Samantha, so much. For some people, the coping mechanism is rock music. Some form of mental distraction from the mechanisms. If you have autism, Jesse, thank you for sharing that with us. It has different tools. Alan, thank you so much. But seriously, everybody has different coping techniques. All of us. All you need to do, really, is figure it out. Break it down. Logic the ever-loving shit out of that anxiety. Don't let it control you. It has no power over you because it is you. I would say that, Alan, except I believe that fear is a necessity because fear is a motivator. Anxiety is worrying whether or not you're going to have to counter the fear. That's key. Recognizing anxiety for what it is a fear of having to deal with fear. It's a fear of having the worst case scenario come up. Nobody wants that. So how do you handle it? Well, simply tell yourself, if it does come up, I'll handle it. For many people, the reason why they experience anxiety over a particular thing is because they've already experienced it. So, here's where it gets beautiful. And some people have a bigger advantage of this than I do. Is remembering that whatever it is that is triggering that anxiety to make you think that the bad thing that's happened before is going to happen again, is to remind yourself that you're here now, which means you got through it. You figured it out, and you're still here. And yes, using fear to your favor, oh, it's delightful. It's a tasty technique for me. I'm a vampire and I feed off of energies. And when a person has conquered their anxieties and their fears, that makes the energy all the more juicy. It makes it very satisfying, and I don't have to feed that much. And any coping technique that works is always good. Although, I will tell you this, denying the existence of your anxiety is not a good coping technique. Denying that it exists within you is very dangerous. Recognizing that you have it already eliminates its power. When you deny that it's existing, you're just ignoring it, which means it'll hit you out of nowhere and your body is going to end up following suit through an anxiety attack. Self-harm is a shit coping technique too. Thank you, Elizabeth, for pointing that out. A lot of people have coping techniques to try and counter the brain chemicals that tend to rush whenever a person does experience an anxiety attack or a panic attack or whatever type of biological response their body is taking on. Yes, it sucks. But you have to remember, when you're going through it, you're still here. Which means you've lived through it before. You survived the storm. And it's never because of the coping technique. The coping technique was merely a raincoat. You could walk through the rain and get soaking wet, but you'll still survive. What kept you going was the fact that you kept on walking. That's a very fitting metaphor, I feel. Coping technique in metaphors is the umbrella in the rain. It makes the walking easier. But what if you left your umbrella at home? Are you going to let the rain fall upon you and just curl into a puddle right on the sidewalk? No. You're going to stand and you're going to walk and keep on walking. Thank you, Tempe, for tuning in. Like I've said before, share this to all your groups. Share it to your timeline. Do everything you can. I'm sure there are plenty of people that have not seen this or thought this before. And I guarantee you, a mindset like that could only help. Let me read these comments here. So this way, maybe we know. The kids who bullied me in elementary and middle school and high school made me stronger, so I put myself 15 years and martial arts to help learn to control my fear and anxiety and learn to, I'm presuming, and learn to ever conquer and become stronger by facing my fears and developing confidence within myself, and became a black belt first green. I'll tell you this, Alan. I'm not saying that that didn't help. Absolutely, that gave you confidence. But I think that gave you confidence to conquer the anxiety. That was a good coping mechanism. But ultimately, you still had to handle it. It just made handling it that much easier. Hands down. Now, how you handle it, that is where every situation is unique. You have bullies that put you through hell, and believe me, I know what that's like. You're talking to the former 260-pound pimple-ridden band geek. Okay? With massive social anxiety. I would know. Now look at me. I survived through it. But the bullies are still here. And all the ridicule and insults are still in here. I haven't quite gone away. All through grammar school and high school. What you call elementary and middle school, where I come from, they call it grammar school. Stress eating is definitely dangerous because it's detrimental to your health. It's not a coping mechanism. If anything, it's you attempting to counter. What you do is recognize you're going through anxiety. Then you can counter it. You can fight it. And then you can recognize the fear. It takes the blinders off. Now you're not afraid of experiencing that fear. And once you know what is around that corner, now the fear is whether or not you're going to get through whatever it is you're going through. And prior experience has always taught us that the worry of the pain is always worse than the pain itself. How often have we done something where we're so damn terrified, and then after the fact we're like, wow, it was completely and totally nothing? Most people are like that with needles. And I say most because there are people that experience phobias with needles, and I get that. You're terrified of needles. And you're so terrified it's going to hurt. And then when that needle makes its insertion, you're like, that didn't hurt at all. It's already done. Now you have to wonder, what was more painful? The insertion of the syringe? Or being so damn terrified of it hurting? Anxiety is always worse than the fear itself. No argument there. Positive coping mechanisms and strategies exist in order to be able to manage anxiety. But some of us do have problems with that. And I'm not going to deny this is going to probably irk some of you. Therapy and medication. I'm serious. For some of us, we have biochemical imbalances within the electrical impulses of our mind. Okay? It's not that you're built wrong. It's nothing with a stigma. To be honest with you, sometimes that, recognizing that, okay, there is something up, is a step forward, leaps and bounds. You know what, Lance? I'll say yes and no. I'll say yes and I'll say no. Here's where I say yes. When you realize that you have a strength within you that nobody can even dare try and face. Hands down. But you also recognize that there's something that's going to trigger it. But actually unleashing it, anger is a very powerful thing. Fear of that anger is also a very powerful thing. But learning to manage it, there's the kicker. Jessica says, had a nurse who decided to narrate the whole needle experience slowly to me when I was a kid. Her dragging it out with the, oh, it's almost in, okay, it's in, okay, done, was not fun. Some people, believe it or not, and you know what? For you, that was traumatic. Me? Honestly, that would have shook me a little bit. Just a little bit. However, at the same time, I can see how that would have helped. Lily, thank you for tuning in. I'm seeing a lot of new faces popping up here, so I'm very happy to see that. Again, share the hell out of this. You never know. Somebody might legitimately not have this mindset, but if they developed it, ooh, wow. It might give them a little bit of extra eye-opening experience. You never know. This could help. But they wouldn't even know it exists unless you share. Share it to your timelines. Share it to your groups, please. If anything, because you might have learned something and somebody else might too. Now, what I was saying about medication, there's a reason why there's a science based around this. And that's where knowledge and education in your own self, Lance, helps. But there's a whole field of science in regards to psychology, psychiatry, the whole nine. There's a reason why doctors go to school for 20 plus years. These aren't quacks that are coming out of community college. These people have degrees. They have to study the chemicals. Now, yes, they're not going to get it right on the first try every time. I'm not going to say that they do every time and they're 100% perfect. Every single level of medication does have to be regulated. They got to figure it out because everybody's brain is 100% different. You may have run a similar maze 1,000 times, but somebody changes one wall and it fucks your entire approach around. And they got to figure that out biochemically. I'll share something personal with every single one of you. This might help. Okay? I have anxiety. I suffer severe, crippling social anxiety. The only time I experience that anxiety gone is when I'm educating about hypnosis. You know, kink hypnosis, recreational hypnosis, stage hypnosis, the whole nine. It's the only time I don't experience any level of anxiety. I get terrified talking to people one-on-one, face-to-face. Every time. And on top of that, I'm a high-functioning paranoid schizophrenic. For those of you that don't know, I suffer auditory hallucinations. So when I had to go to the docs, they had to concoct a very special blend of very juicy chemicals to help. It was the only way. I had to go through years of therapy. And I had to go through behavioral therapy to be able to handle it. But I know damn well that if I didn't, I'd be in an institution right now, incapable of functioning with any of you. The voices would have won. Because mental illness can get worse. And not all doctors know what's best. And yes, Mental health can't be cured. It can be managed, and sometimes with meds. Very accurate. To this day, I still practice cognitive behavioral therapy, which short and sweet means is recognizing when something's happening and thinking your way through it and doing what you can in order to be able to cope with it. I still do that every single day. I say a mantra to myself. No one's out to get me. No one's out to hurt me. No one's trying to sabotage me or kill me. No one's going after my loved ones, and my loved ones are not coming after me. No one's going to hurt my friends, and my friends aren't out to get me. Things are going to go okay. I'm going to get through the day and night. Nothing's in the shadows. I'll be fine. I have to tell that to myself every morning when I wake up. And whenever I start to experience the hallucinations crank up a bit in volume, I have to remind myself of that. Every time. Imagine being in a situation like I was when I was in combat. Maybe you don't know, I served. When there were people trying to kill me. But I managed the anxiety. Anxiety is portrayed and played in many different ways. David Lynch did a damn good job of it in his films. Vincent Price banked on it. Hitchcock became a legend with it. Some people say that suspense is the film translation of anxiety, and he couldn't be more right. The difference between suspense and horror is this. Horror is knowing there's a head under your table. Suspense is wondering when it's going to start to talk to you. I love that. Slight modification on the actual quote, but you get the point. Yes. Yes, The Little Train That Could is a good example, Lance. That's what you have to do with your mind. It's the only way to conquer anxiety. It's the only way to fight it back. Anxiety is a very, very potent force. And unfortunately for some, it's become a crutch and a necessity. These days, in the world that we're living in right now, presently, we're terrified of an illness that could come get us. Justifiably so terrified. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be. We should. But does that mean we give up hope? Or we expect the worst? Because you have some people there saying that this is all a conspiracy. And that's bullshit. No, it's not a conspiracy. I legitimately believe that what we're going through, as it's been told to us, is real. The anxiety is that we're being manipulated and controlled. That's a fear many of us have had. That's what a lot of different sides of the spectrum believe. I don't think it's that simple. I really don't. If that were the case, don't you think they could have come up with something a little bit less destructive to do it with? Masks? As a manipulation tool? No. No. So you know what I'm talking about, Lance. It sucks, right? I had anxiety that one day I would be completely and totally lost. That the voices would be my reality. Swear to God, sometimes I think my therapist is going to pop into the chat. Yes. A little bit of a terrifying thought when I think about it. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, cash payments, by all means. And speaking of which, I may have merch coming. Maybe. But the only way I can is if you share this everywhere that you can. I'm serious. This is a topic that needs to be discussed. People are afraid of it. People are afraid that someone's going to be too sensitive about it. I don't think it's something to be sensitive about. I think if you face it head on, it can be handled. And sometimes through this particular medium, it's easier to take. Because we're hearing it from a screen, which in many ways is seen as an authority. And I, by no means, am an authority. I just know my anxiety. Hello, Sheena, and thank you for tuning in. I'm doing well, and thank you for asking. We can tackle this, but we have to be presently minded about it. And I know we can. Because then we can get back to handling the fears that ultimately sit behind the anxiety. If we fear our government, then become a part of it and change it. The only way. Only way. Any other questions, comments, concerns, complaints? And speaking of cash payments, if you want to donate to Hellfire, they have merch on their site. If you want to donate to me directly, get in hold of me. My email address is baronvvoltage@gmail.com. We'll work something out. I even have a YouTube page with all my previous episodes uploaded. So this way, if you want to come at me directly, you can. And like, comment, subscribe there as well. Because for some people, YouTube is a little bit easier to access than a Facebook video. Understandably so. And if I see enough interest there, who knows? I might be releasing independent videos on whatever it is that you feel you want to talk about. Now, let's see, what time is it? How much time do I got? Not doing too bad. Tell me about some of your anxiety stories. I'll tell you about mine. I remember being terrified. First time I stood up in front of people. I'm reading the comments as they're coming in because I like this. This helps me to at least understand all of you. People just need to be validated at times. Too accurate. Validation is very important. But, and I'll get to the rest of your comment in a second, Lance, trust me. But, the ultimate power lies within a sense of self-validation. Recognize that nobody else can make you great. Only you can make you great. Only you can make you matter. Sheena, I feel your pain. I really do. And you know what? There are others that do too. And that doesn't lessen your anxiety. It just means that your anxiety is yours and everybody else's anxiety is their own. Recognizing the anxiety is the first key. But validation. When people seek external validation, honestly, it's toxic. You can't rely on that. You have to be able to stand on your own. Live off of your own merit. Attempting something, if you failed it, at least you tried. And then try again. My mother, God rest her, once told me that when you get knocked down, you get the hell up, you dust yourself off, and you say whatever it is that knocked you down, that it hits like a bitch. Because the only way that something can win is if you choose to stay down. scared of driving, afraid of talking to people, afraid everyone I talk to only tolerates me and are just too nice to tell me I'm being annoying, etc. That's understandable. And I'm not saying that you're annoying or anything like that, Jessica. It's a common anxiety. The thing is that realize that you have nothing to fear but believing that something is inconquerable. Hello, Roberta, and thank you for tuning in. People are always terrified, and they don't quite know why. They can't quite get over that hump because they're afraid that they're going to be judged or seen in a negative light. And they're forgetting the one key thing. It's not necessarily that they're afraid of being seen wrong. They're afraid of certain people seeing them wrong. And it's fear of being judged by that individual. You have to remember that if that individual judges you for failure, walk from them. Because you don't want somebody in your life that's going to judge you for that. Because now, you're not you. You are living for somebody else. And that's not a way to live. And that's not judgment, that's reality. Don't live for somebody else. Live for you. Exist for you, not for another. Because you never know. They may not be there forever. So when they're gone, does that mean you are too? Your whole purpose for being on this earth before you ever met them, you mean to tell me that that was meaningless? No. It's a concept that so many people latch on to, the need to be validated by someone else. And yeah, somebody else validating that you're in pain, that can help. But Lance, that's yet another coping mechanism. You have to validate you. That is enough. And recognizing that it's enough helps. When people go to therapy and they say this and they don't see that they've made any progress whatsoever, there's one truth that they forget and sometimes need to be reminded, that they're sitting on that couch or in that chair or in that office. You know what that means? They've taken that step. They recognized it and they know it. Whenever somebody takes a step towards alleviating their fears and anxieties, it's incredibly easy to overlook it within yourself. Strength comes from removing the blinders from your eyes. And that's how you conquer anxiety. And that is how you handle fear. Is knowing that you see it. And Kim, the fact that you think that you're not means you're aware of it. And if you're aware of it, you are. If you're aware, you've already got the strength to see it. Now the question is, what are you going to do about it? That's truth right there. Everyone has that strength. It's built in. Be it a need for medication, therapy, coping mechanisms that are healthy. But knowing that you need it is already a massive step. It's not a monster hiding in the shadows. It's got a spotlight on it, and you can see it for what it is. And once you see it, now a game plan can be made. And once you make a game plan, you see the zipper behind the monster's costume. And you can unzip it and completely and totally expose it and destroy it. That is how you destroy the beast, or get it to dance for you. Now, that's not to say that once you've conquered it in one instance, that it's not going to come back. It's always going to have a sequel. Always will. It's like a bad movie franchise. It'll always come out with a return. Anxiety 2, Electric Boogaloo. But now you know the tools. You've got the proton pack on your back. Now it's just a question of going hunting for it. Now you can see it for what it is. It's like getting really good at a game. You know the gameplay. You've played through the level. You just increased it. You went from tutorial mode to easy. Then from easy to medium. From medium to regular. From regular to hard to harder. And then extreme. And the fact that you know that that monster is within you is a step, Lance. But it's on you to control it. Tell me something, Kim. I'll put this out here for you. Okay? This will help. Okay? If people don't want or like you, then why do you want them around you? What's the point of them around you? If you are experiencing anxiety or problems and they don't want to be there for you, why keep them around? What's the point? People that are judgmental to you are toxic to you, and you don't want that. They'll only use you and abuse you. And sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow. Never let anybody that doesn't want or like you to be around you. They're pointless. They're shadows. Every person is good enough within themselves. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you need them for it. Human strength, vampiric strength, or however you may identify strength within yourself is enough. We're very resilient creatures. All of us. And the only way we can be defeated is to just curl up and let it win. And I don't think any one of us is going to actually do that. Especially when you know the reward is that much sweeter. Now, I'm not going to lie. It's harder for some than others. It's a longer journey and a longer road for some. I'm not going to argue that. That's blatantly obvious. I know people that still fight to this day, even after they've adapted this mentality. Is it easier to manage? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. But you know what? They're walking that path with their eyes open. Thank you, Samantha. You have to approach things with your eyes open to the stones that are in the road before you. Thank you, Belinda. All you folks that are liking what you hear, share the hell out of this on your timelines and in large groups so that I can keep coming back. Let people know. Because you know what? This information could be very potent for them. I analyze all aspects of fear. Anxiety was one that I had anxiety talking about because I wanted to make sure that you all understood. You guys want to hear a really good metaphor about things? About how to approach life in regards to anxiety and life experiences? Because this is how I approach it. Life is a road that you walk. If you're always focused on what's behind you, you're not going to see the brick wall that's in front of you. If you're always looking to your left or right, you're not going to see what the rock is beneath you that you may trip over. And understand that that road's going to have fallen over logs, twigs, sharp rocks, cracks in the cement, some uneven pavement. You're going to face inclines and declines. Every once in a while, somebody will come along on the path and walk it with you. Sometimes it's going to rain, sometimes the sun is shining, sometimes it's so fucking dark that you can't see anything more than that close in front of you. But it's on all of us to keep on walking. Therapy is like a flashlight. Lights your path a bit. Meds are like an energy drink. Too much of them and yeah, you're going to have a problem. They get the right kind of Gatorade on a sunny ass day where you're cooking. It can revitalize you. Help you walk that path a little bit easier. Don't always worry about who's walking with you. Because it's your path, not theirs. They may come in and walk it with you the entire way to the end. Or they may come in and go. But it's still your path to walk. Don't ever forget that. And remember, when you were walking that path, there wasn't anybody holding your hand. It's all you. You're capable of putting one foot in front of the other. And you didn't need anybody else to lift your foot up and put it out. And the other foot to the other. Don't let anybody ever tell you different. Because there are going to be people in your life that tell you that you would not be walking at all if it wasn't for them. There are going to be people that tell you that. Bullshit. You are responsible for you. Are you going to stumble and fall? Yeah, it's going to happen. It happens with the best of us. Nobody is perfect. We're always going to think that there are people. And you know what, Kim? There is medication out there for folks that have had an issue with addiction. And you know what? Yes, it is difficult to get up and walk. But the only way to solve the problem is to get up. Now, yeah, it may take you a while to get up. And the spill may be pretty freaking bad. But you know what? I'll tell you this. Eventually you can get up. You dust yourself off. And you keep on walking. And that's a good point, Lance. And kudos to you, Kim, for being clean. Because you recognized you had a bad coping mechanism. And you did something about it. That's a step. That's a big step. I give you so much props for that. Like you wouldn't believe. Everybody throw Kim a heart on that comment, because that's potent as hell. That goes not a stake to my heart, but you get the point. Alright? But yeah, you recognized that you had a shit coping mechanism and you did something about it. You stopped. You got clean. That's a fucking huge leap. That's not just a step. That's somebody shoving a rocket up your ass, lighting the fuse, and taking you way the hell ahead. There are lots of people that are carrying the burden of that so much that they've barely taken a step. The problems in our life that we experience is like putting extra rocks in a backpack that we're carrying. Let the rocks go. Let all the bullshit that you're carrying go. It's pointless. Got a grudge on somebody? Let it go. Somebody gave you shit years ago? Let it go. Why are you carrying that rock? What's the point? It's not going to help you. When you walk your path, shit that happens to you is just putting another rock in that backpack. Don't carry it. And don't beat yourself up for falling. Because the more you carry those rocks, the more it's going to make it harder to take a step forward. Yes, Samantha. That's my point. Don't rely on anybody else but yourself to get up. I'm happy I've got all you guys in here. Be your own support group. Ironically, right? How you doing, Skippy? Thank you for tuning in. But are you there now, Kim? You're here with us. You're talking with us. And you're able to say that you just hit rock bottom before. But you're here now. What does that tell you? You're stronger than you think you are. And I'm glad you just joined, Skippy. If you want to watch anything about the past, earlier on this stream, this will gladly be saved. Thank you very much. It's saved on the Hellfire page on Facebook. And I also upload past episodes to my YouTube page. Just Baron Voltage. Look me up. You'll see a B with my episodes. I've got a couple of past episodes I still have to upload, but I do upload them. Well, the title of tonight's episode is Anxiety. Anxiety and fear and how they go hand in hand and how to handle it. Now, every single one of you, they're in here right now. You've shared your stories. No, I am not the owner. But if you need to send a message to the Hellfire owner, you can email them at hellfireradio666@gmail.com. Well, thank you. I'm rather attached to it myself. We've got about 5 minutes, so feel free to ask me anything you'd like. You could also reach me on Facebook. Just look up Baron Voltage. I'm usually the last show of the night on Wednesdays and Fridays. This is Into the Shadows, and there's a guy that's called the Rant Commander, and he runs the Killing Wall on Wednesday nights. And you know what? I think tonight, all of you have strength. You're all willing to share yourselves and your experiences. And maybe tonight, you approached a different mindset to things. Maybe it'll help. And don't let the fear of anxiety take you over. Share the hell out of this on your timelines and share it in big groups that you have. Horror Show Jack, Skippy. You can check him out, Google him. And these are actually 5 years old. No adhesive needed. They go right to my teeth. Anybody else got any Yes, you can. You can message me personally on Facebook. I answer all messages. And you know why I answer all messages? Because one, I'm not that popular. And two, I make it a point to at least talk to everybody. You can either message me on Facebook Messenger, just look up Baron Voltage. I will gladly accept your messages. Or you can email me at baronvvoltage@gmail.com. All one word, Baron V Voltage. It's 2 V's right next to one another. Ah, you see? So you know what I mean. Does great work. Giving up someone or giving up sometimes? I'm not sure if that's a typo there, Kim. And if it helps, if it was giving up sometimes, I felt it too. But it's important to get up. Because you know what? I wouldn't know you then. And I feel privileged to know you. Because you took a big step. That should be fucking commended. Thank you. I think that right now I'm going to do the thing that I normally do near the end of my show. I basically give you guys me. Not Baron Voltage, but me. Which is what I always do. Real talk. Kim, I felt like giving up more times than I care to count. You guys want to hear something personal? I've survived 6 suicide attempts. 6. I've walked out into traffic twice. I've been hit by a Buick, and then I was also hit by a van. I broke 7 bones each time. Ribs, arms, and legs. I've jumped off of buildings. I'll tell you, I'm still here. Which means I wasn't meant to go. It's okay to feel like you want to give up, but don't. That's the only thing I can ask you to do, is don't. We're all here to continue to exist. Live life to its fullest. And you know what? I'm glad that the people here are still here. And we all care. I may have not met some of you, may have not known any of you personally. But I'll tell you, you matter. In every way, at least to somebody. As a vampire, as I identify, I live in eternity by making an impact and a memory for someone. Be it one of you, or just somebody I meet on the street. That's how I live forever. And I don't ever want to stop doing that. Because I never know. I might be meaningful in that person's life, even if for that moment. And right now you made an impact on me. And I don't want you to forget that. Everyone's life matters. So don't check out early. And whenever you feel like you're going to, I'll tell you a funny thing, Lance, in a second. But if you ever feel like you're going to, just remember, if you do, you might miss the chance to make an impact in somebody else's life. You made it in mine. And you made this discussion that much more valid. So stick around. Who knows? Maybe for you the fun is just starting. And Lance, I'll tell you this. With all I've survived, a lightning strike, car accidents, 2 attempts by Al-Qaeda, brain cancer, a heart attack, a couple of genetic disorders. It's like death keeps on seeing my name on his list and thinks he's getting punked, so he throws my name off. There's a reason. And we're all here to make an impact. Make yours. That's Into the Shadow for tonight, folks. Tune in next week. Who knows? Maybe if you message me, I might discuss something that you want to talk about. The only way I'll know is if you share. So share the hell out of this. Share it on your timelines. Share it in the big groups. And I'll see you when the lights go out. So good night. Sleep tight. And if you ask nicely, maybe I'll give you a bite. Good night.